Home prices in Asheville have been steadily going up year over year. And if you just look at the past 5 years, you'll see that median sales price in Asheville Metro went from $280,000 up to $469,000 at the end of 2024, which is over 65% jump. And of course, 2024 has had a lot of ups and downs, not just for the Asheville area, but nationwide. The elections came and went, and I know a lot of people, a lot of our clients were waiting for the elections to be over to make any kind of decisions, whether they wanted to buy, sell, or relocate to a new area. Second, interest rates did not go down as low as many people have hoped they would. I know we had a ton of clients who were telling us that they want to wait for interest rates to go down so that they can start shopping for a new house or even selling a house and buying a new one. Meanwhile, here in the Asheville area, median sales price went from $430,000 in the fall of 2022, that is right around the time when interest rates start going up, and now it is at $469,000, which is over 7.5% jump. So you can see how that did not play out that well for a lot of people who have been on the fence, who have been waiting. And now we see that a lot of buyers, a lot of consumers, a lot of clients are coming to terms and accepting the fact that interest rates are probably not gonna go down to the low 2s or 3s like we used to have just a few years ago. And they're accepting the fact that high 5, 6, and even 7 is the new norm. And of course, here locally, we had a major weather event that sure did throw a major curveball into our real estate market, into our economy. And so we are dealing with all these post-major ups and downs here locally and nationwide. But before I share my thoughts about what I think is going to happen in the Asheville real estate market in 2025, let's zoom out and take a look at what's going on nationwide and what do all the experts in the industry predict for the new year. This episode is brought to you by ℂ𝕠𝕟 Realty at eXp Realty here in the Asheville area. Check out our reviews on Google from people mostly like you. We're here to help whether you are buying or selling, relocating to the area. We would like to be your real estate experts of choice. Reach out to us. Our contact information is down in the description. And so, nationwide, home sales have been actually steadily declining over the past several years. But here is the home sales forecast from the major players and major experts in the industry. For example, Realtors.com forecast for 2025 is that home sales will go up to a little over 4 million, which is actually the lowest out of all other experts who shared their insights. Next up is Fannie Mae at 4.176 million and Wells Fargo at 4.187 million. Our own National Association of Realtors has the most bullish projection, and they predict that home sales will go up to almost 4.5 million. Zillow's prediction is that home sales will go up as well, but not quite as high at 4.3 million. Next up is home prices forecast. That's something that a lot of people are watching and looking and hoping that home prices will actually go down. But here's what major players have to say. Let's start with Zillow. Zillow forecasts 2.6% home value growth in 2025, while Realtor.com predicts 3.7% increase, which is actually consistent with growth trends all the way from 2012. Wells Fargo, on the other hand, has the most bullish forecast, and that is 4.9% annual growth in home values for 2025. As far as the inventory forecast for 2025, pretty much all of the analysis agree that inventory will rise in 2025, and with Housing Wire projection annual growth of 13%, followed by Bright MLS at 12.5% and Realtor.com at 11.7%. As far as the mortgage rate forecast for 2025, Big drum roll. I know a lot of people have been waiting for rates to drop, but here is what the analysts have to share. HousingWire stands out with a projected average of 6.5%, which is actually the highest or the more conservative average of all the forecasts. National Association of Realtors, again our own association, is forecasting the lowest average rate at 5.9% for 2025. Here locally, this is where we stand as we wrap up 2024. Here in Asheville, median sales prices have been steadily going up, despite the fact that we are ending with the lowest number of sales since June of 2021. And that is again because of supply and demand. Hendersonville, for example, is ending the year at $466,000 as their median sales price. The number of homes for sale in Hendersonville started going up towards the second half of the year, but of course in the fall after the hurricane everything just dropped and ultimately the sales went down. In Waynesville, which is Haywood County just west of Asheville, we're ending with median sales price at $421,000, and the same thing happened in Waynesville. The number of home sales went up and then abruptly went down as soon as we had the hurricane hit our mountains. Same happened in Black Mountain. Home sales went down right after the hurricane, and Black Mountain is wrapping up 2024 at $545,000 as their median sales price. Burnsville, which is located in Yancey County, just kind of north of Asheville, about an hour north of Asheville, is ending the year at $335,000 as their median sales price. And of course, sales dropped dramatically in the fall of 2024 after the hurricane, as Burnsville and the whole Yancey County was one of the hardest hit areas after the hurricane. And after looking at some other stats in all the market reports across different counties and towns around Asheville, it appears that the hurricane only exacerbated the direction the markets have already moving towards too. For example, if you look at months supply, you will see that all of the markets, all of the hyperlocal markets, because remember, real estate is hyperlocal, have already been moving towards a more balanced market. And balanced market means that it's not the seller's market, not the buyer's market. It's equal, there's equal number of buyers, equal number of sellers. So it's not a win for either one. It's kind of a win-win for both sides. And so my prediction for 2025 for the Asheville area is that because some areas sustained way more damage than some other ones, the areas that didn't have as much damage will be kind of like pulling the blanket, and there will be imbalance in how the markets will be performing just right here in Western North Carolina. So I think that areas that sustain more damage, and those are places like Yancey County, Mitchell County, Marshall, North Carolina, they're kind of farther from Asheville, and they will take longer time to rebuild, longer time to kind of get up on their feet, will continue to be in a more balanced market, which again is kind of a win-win for both buyers and sellers. The same number of inventory on the market, and there's the same number of buyers who want to buy that inventory, who would be interested in that inventory. Asheville, on the other hand, that did not sustain as much damage as some other areas, relatively speaking, again, will continue to be a huge attraction, will continue to be that attraction for not just tourists, but for people who want to relocate to the area. It always gets on all kinds of lists. Recently, it even got on the Forbes list as one of the top places to visit. And so it will continue to be that attraction to people from all over the country, and I believe it's gonna continue to be in a pretty strong seller's market. So it's good for sellers, not so much for buyers. And areas right outside of Asheville, in the whole Buncombe County, in the close proximity to Asheville, will remain a hot commodity, so to speak. Even the places like ℂ𝕠𝕟𝕟𝕟 that had the one of, probably the most damage in whole Buncombe County, areas and parts of ℂ𝕠𝕟𝕟 and properties that were not damaged, that didn't have any damage at all, no flooding, nothing, no mudslides, nothing like that. I believe that those areas will be in a pretty strong seller's market, so it will be good for the sellers, not so much for the buyers. But again, I don't have a crystal ball, and those are just my prediction. I will be very curious to see how it all plays out and what direction the market will move towards too. Another pretty important thing that I want to mention is the fact that unlike some other areas, some other parts of the country where all those experts and analysts predict rising inventory and rising home sales because of that inventory, that is not always the case here in the Asheville area, in the whole Western North Carolina, in fact. The reason we don't have as much new construction and new builds that would contribute to low inventory and will help kind of pull the market towards more of a balanced market is our terrain. We just do not have as much flat land where big developers will come in and build hundreds of homes at once, like they can in some other areas, in some other areas where there's plenty of flat land to do that. Our terrain proved to be difficult to work on and develop, and all that is, of course, on one hand is good because Asheville probably will never blow up like places like Austin, Texas, or some other towns that went from really small, very kind of local, hyper-local to huge metropolitan areas. That's probably never going to be the case here. We don't have infrastructure, we don't have flat land, so I think there's always going to be this disbalance between the supply and demand, and unless something major happens nationwide, like and COVID wasn't even that, like the market crash over almost 15 years ago. And like something like this happens, I do not see how we gonna have a crashed market here and how homes will be more affordable, honestly. And unfortunately, home prices continue to go up. And I will leave you with this. Right now is actually a better time to buy a house. Right now, even though we are in a pretty strong seller's market here in the Asheville area, there's so many motivated sellers, so many sellers who want to sell, who had the house on the market for about 3 months, and that seems right now at the end of 2024, that seems to be a magic number. If you see a house that's been on the market for about 3 months, those sellers are anxious, those sellers are probably motivated, and there's a good chance that you can snag a deal right now. But if you wait long enough, and if you wait for the spring to come, when more people will start coming to the area and more people you start thinking about relocating to the area again after the holidays, after the new president and all those things settle in, game over. The market will explode again, and the fact that we also kind of lost, at least for maybe 1 or 2 years or next few months, we lost some of those overflow areas like Marshall, North Carolina, Yancey County, Mitchell County. We kind of lost them because they're so severely damaged. Asheville will continue to be that hub, will continue to be that saturated place where people would want to be, where people would choose to move to, because even though we had this major weather event at the end of September of 2024, 90%, if not more, of Asheville had almost no damage, and continue to be pretty safe place to be, relatively speaking. And so on this note, I would like to wrap up 2024 that had a ton of ups and downs for the whole country, and definitely for the Asheville area in particular. I will see you on the next one. I'm wishing you all Happy New Year.